Hello there. How are you? I hope that this finds you well and wonderful. I know that it's been an extremely long time. Way too long. And I've missed you guys. And I'm sorry for not posting in several months. This video is extremely tardy. And as I'm sure you saw, this is finally the the answer portion of the Q&A video that I promised you guys basically at the beginning of last semester. Well, not the beginning, but towards the beginning. I think it was the end of September. So I'm going to go through the questions that you all posted on the video, and I also got a few emailed to me as well. These aren't going to be in any particular order. I'm just gonna go off of the way YouTube organized them in the comment section. I'm not sure if this is going to be really long or not, although knowing most of my videos, it probably will. So if you don't want to stay for the whole thing, I completely understand. But for those of you who do make it to the end, you might find that waiting or watching the video was worth it. Hint, hint. So, I don't want to take too much time to explain anything, because I know that, like I said, this is probably going to be kind of long. And when I start talking, sometimes I can get excited, so this might be slightly less relaxing than some of my other videos. But I thought I owed you guys a little bit of an explanation, and luckily my explanation is kind of along the same lines as some of the questions I received about what I do and what I'm doing at school, etc. So I'm doing my doctorate currently, and I am just finished with my classes, finally, and I was working on my proposal this semester, and things kind of quite go as planned, I guess you can say. And I had to do some reworking of my research, which was unexpected and took a lot of my time. And what I'm working on, well, actually it's kind of complicated. So, originally, I went to school right out of high school. I went to college, and I majored in music, and I was an opera singer. Well, I still am, but I don't perform much these days. It's kind of a long story as to how I got where I am, but basically it came down to wanting to have more stability and financial security. I was doing my master's degree, basically starting right when the recession hit in 2008. And when I finally graduated, it wasn't really a great time for opera in the States. So, and I know we have some other opera singers in the ASMR community. So, but I decided to get my doctorate, and I'm working in educational administration and leadership. And I came to my university, which is located in the southern United States. One of the reasons why I came here was because I got a good, I guess, offer from the school with the graduate assistantship. So, I know you guys ask me what I do. So other than school, I am a graduate assistant, and I am technically the head of the technology support. I want to say center for our department, but I'm the only person, so. And I run the website for my department and just basically help professors with any kind of computer related or web related activities. I also help to organize several conferences that my department hosts every year. So, you might imagine then that I have some interest in technology, which I do, and along with my graduate assistantship, I also do, I guess, freelancing for mostly graphic design or some web development sometimes. But I guess I consider myself more on the design spectrum. And I'm not a professional, I I'm totally self-taught, so I also work for another university, kind of consulting in a way, with metadata projects at the library at that university. And metadata basically is data about data. So it consists of a lot of data organization and things like that. Creating databases, I guess, is the easiest way for me to describe it. But it isn't really a database, it's more complex. So, I kind of have 2.5 jobs. And so in addition to my thesis or my dissertation kind of going a little bit sideways unexpectedly, I also took on a project in mid-October with a company. Well, it's actually a nonprofit organization in my area, and I did all of the web development, including building the site and the graphic design for them, and it turned into a lot more than I originally bargained for. I'll just say that. So it kind of ate up all of my time in November. There were a lot of difficulties with communication between a couple members of the board, so it just made things difficult on my end. I actually did film some Christmas videos. You can see the little mat thing that we have here today. It's winter themed, and I did film some Christmas videos, but when I got home, and I am back at my parents' house right now, we had family visiting and things just got incredibly crazy around here. And people staying here, it seemed like the house was never quiet. So I am finally able to have a little bit of peace and tranquility to be able to film. And I'm kind of debating as to whether or not I want to put up the Christmas videos that I did film. I'm thinking I might save them for next year, since they're so late now. So, that wasn't technically an official question, but I know it tied into some questions people did ask, so I thought I would kind of what was going on and sort of begin or mostly answer a couple questions. But now I'm going to officially start with the questions that you guys asked me. And in addition to playing with this mat, which I really like, I love glittery things. I don't know if you guys can see how sparkly it is. I can't help it. Give me a little bit of glitter. In addition to playing with this, I thought I would just play with some little things that I have flying around, because I'm one of those types of people that when I'm thinking I need to have my hands doing things, it's hard for me to sit still. So, if you guys don't mind, they're mostly makeup things, so. Okay, so the first question that I have open is an email question. And it is, I'm really intrigued by your name. I've never heard of Afton before. Could you share with us the story behind your name? Okay, so I've debated a lot about talking about this, and I may end up editing this out, but so when I started my channel, I was very conflicted about sort of what to call it or whatever. And, well, Afton is the name of my great-grandmother's good friend, and it arose because my mother basically said that she thought it was a beautiful name and she wanted to name me Afton. But my mother and father ended up naming me after my grandmother instead. Well, actually, I'm named after my great-grandmother and my grandmother on my dad's side. So my great-grandmother on my mom's side, whose friend was Afton, and my grandmother on my father's side. So I guess it's just something that always stuck. So, well, technically it's not my name. It's just something that I like to go by. And then, in addition to that, I also have sort of have two names in a way. I have the name that I use for publishing for my academic papers, and I have the name that I use for performing, which are both derivatives of my real name, I guess the name that I have on my birth certificate. And I wanted sort of this to be its own thing, and I tried to think of another derivative of my real name to use, but it just didn't work out, so I thought I would use my nickname instead. And I guess just for privacy reasons as well, I kind of didn't want everything to be completely mishmashed together. I don't know. So, but the name comes from my great-grandmother's best friend, and because my mother thought it was extremely beautiful and originally wanted to name me Afton, and the name just kind of hung around, even though they decided in the end to name me after my grandmother's, which I actually really like too, because my family is really big into, I guess, genealogy and feeling close to your ancestors in a way. And so it's just fun to have that reminder of them every day. And maybe one day I'll share it, but I don't think I'm quite ready yet. I hope you guys don't mind. So, oh, and Afton is actually the name of a river or a stream. I think it's a very small, like, little babbling brook, because I think it's in Scotland or somewhere in northern England. There's some kind of body of traveling water called Afton, because there's actually a song that was written in, I think, the late 1700s or early 1800s, and it talks about the reverse Afton, sort of. I would try to sing it for you guys, but I'm not good at singing quietly, as you can imagine. So, and it's actually quite bad for your vocal cords to whisper. I know one of my old voice teachers in particular would really freak out if she heard me whispering so much. So, but I love ASMR, so. Okay. So I think that kind of pretty much answers that question. The second question from this person is, what persuaded you to take the leap from viewer to content to creation? So I know I mentioned this in my first video I ever made. I started watching ASMR in early 2013 or sometime in 2012, I can't remember. I think it was around then, either late 2012 or early 2013. And I don't know, I really loved it, and I basically use ASMR every night to fall asleep. Although in the last week or two, I haven't as much. It was the first time in 3 years that I've gone multiple consecutive days without listening to ASMR at night. We've had so much family here, and I've been going to bed and getting up so early, going to bed late and getting up early and being extremely tired. So I guess I just didn't need it as much, but I have a lot of trouble falling asleep, and especially, once I get to sleep, it's like I'm out. My roommate that I live with now said the smoke detector in her house started going off and things like this, and I just slept right through it, which is not good really, but once I'm asleep, I'm asleep. But getting to sleep is extremely difficult for me. And I thought about starting a channel many times and kind of wanted to, but I guess part of it was just me being busy, and I don't know, there were a lot of factors, but I guess it just boils down to not being the right time. I wanted to get a microphone before I started. I know a lot of people don't get the mic, and actually, this is another question people ask me. What do I use to film? So I use a Blue Yeti microphone, and I actually just do all the filming on my iPhone 6s Plus. So although I do use Premiere Pro, Adobe's Premiere Pro to edit now, which has made a big difference, I think. So when I first started, I was using just the regular built-in Mac editing, movie editor, iMovie, I guess it's called. So, but I guess there were certain things that I wanted to have before I started, and I just never got around to getting them in a way until, I guess it was the summer of 2015. I finally got them. And I guess I wanted to give back to the community, because I know it's given me so much peace and solace. I was really going through an incredibly hard time when I first started watching ASMR. It's a long story, it's another long story, but I had gone through a really, really hard breakup, and I had just started my doctorate, and as you can imagine, I had basically been in music pretty seriously since I was 15. Like, I started taking lessons from like a serious teacher, like an opera singer who was seriously training me for a career in opera since I was 15. And it was like 11 years later, I guess, so like, over a decade of doing that. And I switched and started this doctoral program, and it was a really hard transition for me. And without ASMR, I don't know if I could have done it, honestly. So, I will always love music more than anything else, probably. But it's a challenging road, I guess. And I can talk about that more if you guys want me to, but for now, I guess that's all I really need to say. But I wanted to give back and basically just enjoy the creative process of making these videos. And with not really having the same kind of creative outlets that I had previously, this has sort of allowed me to be expressive more creatively in a way. Although I do actually think that web design and graphic design is a very creative thing too, but I don't know, it's different somehow. And then since I've started doing it, it's been incredibly wonderful to have so much love and support from you all. That's also really been helpful to me during my studies, so I really appreciate that from you guys. Thank you. And it's also been very interesting because one of my areas of study, actually I think this might be the next question, so let me read it before I go on. Okay, so the next question is, I'm interested in what you're currently studying and what you're looking to do career-wise. So this is kind of a perfect segue into that. So when I started my degree, as I said, I'm doing educational administration and leadership. And I was originally thinking of basically getting the degree so that I could probably do some kind of position in administration in a conservatory, or perhaps even running an opera house or something like that. It's the program that I'm in is more focused on the practical elements of administration and leadership, so I'm probably not going to become an academic, but I don't know completely yet, so it's not completely off the table. But once I started, one of the things that I did a lot as an opera singer, obviously, is things like diction, which is pronunciation for singing, which is actually different than speaking. So I know that my French sometimes is not that good, so forgive me on that one. But you learn the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet, and when I was looking for classes the second semester that I was doing my doctorate as a GA or graduate assistant, you have to have a certain number of credit hours a semester to keep your assistantship. And the class that I was originally supposed to take ended up filling up, and I just decided to take a class that was technically out of the linguistics department, which is obviously outside of the umbrella of education, but in my university they have linguistics basically doing all of the ESL classes as well, which is English as a second language, which does actually, I mean, it's not totally focused on education, but obviously it's a huge component of ESL. So, or I guess you could say SLA too, which is second language acquisition. But my department focuses a lot on ESL. And so I took basically the linguistics class that dealt with phonetics, which is the sounds of a language, or any sounds of language in general. And it was so fascinating that I decided to do a second master's degree along with my doctorate, which, looking back on it now, was probably not the best idea, but I've always loved language, and I've always loved writing, although I mostly enjoyed writing more like creatively, poetry and things like this. I can't say that I totally enjoy writing academic papers, but there's something to be said about that kind of precise and controlled academic formality, I guess. But my thinking was basically, if you're not in music, it's very hard for people to understand what music degrees are and what value they have. And so I decided to do my second, because I have my bachelor's in music as well as my master's. So I decided to just go ahead and do my second master's in linguistics, focusing on second language acquisition and DSL. And my sort of original plan before the bottom fell out of the oil industry last year was to possibly take a job overseas, most likely in the Middle East, doing some work for an oil company, because typically they have departments for teaching English to the workers that they have in the field, because people speak English typically. People from all over the world come to work for the companies, international companies, and so I was considering doing that. but now I'm not as sure. So right now things are kind of up in the air, I guess. We'll see. Although I did hear today on the news, actually just this morning, that oil prices might be going up again. So it's not good because I don't like the higher gas prices, but we'll see. It might be better for me to get a job. Other than that, I may end up doing some teaching for a while. Although that's not my first choice. My mother actually works in a school, so I know how difficult it can be. Okay. I'm gonna get to our next question. Okay. So my next question is from another person that sent an email. And I'm not sure. The first person, I'm pretty sure, didn't want me to use their name, so I didn't. I'm not sure about this one either, so I'm not going to use the name of this person either, but they had several questions. The first one is, where are you from? And that's another one of those questions that's kind of complicated because I moved around a lot. And so I was born in the Washington, D.C. area. And basically we moved. I ended up going to 12 different elementary, middle, and high schools. Like if you combine all of the educational years together, it equaled one school year, although some of them were in the same town, so it wasn't that bad. But we lived in the South. We lived in, the Northeast, and I've also lived in the Midwest as well. So some of my notable places were obviously the DC area and Boston, as well as New Orleans and Houston and Chicago. Hopefully I didn't repeat any. But so it's hard for me to say I'm from somewhere. But if I had to say, it would be, I guess, a toss-up between Chicago and the Houston area, because I've lived the longest in those two places. And I loved Chicago the most. So I always want to say Chicago, but I don't live there anymore. So. And the second part of his question was, he hears an accent in the way I speak. So I am not from outside the USA. I'm from the United States. But as I mentioned earlier in the video, whispering is actually quite bad for your vocal cords, and soft speaking as well, because it sort of creates tension, which is not good. So I probably am using, what you're hearing is the product of my vocal training, and most likely influences from singing opera, because I try to keep my throat very open and relaxed. And one of my teachers used to instruct us sort of to sound like Julia Child, because that's one of the way of accessing your voice. And if you don't know what Julia Child sounds like, then you should go YouTube it, because it's pretty awesome. And I would demonstrate it for you guys, but it would be very loud. So that'll have to be in like some kind of blooper video or something. But basically the sort of accentedness that you hear is just a product of me being an opera singer, I think. It was really subconscious, like I didn't even realize I was doing it until people started asking me, "Oh, you have an accent, where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, really? I didn't realize." So, going back and re-listening to my videos after people have said things, I did notice it too. And honestly, I think that that's probably why. And it depends on the kind of video I'm doing too. Like this is more rambly, obviously. I'm not very good at speaking eloquently, I guess, when I'm just speaking off the cuff. And so it's probably less accented sounding than when I'm more prepared. Because I thought about preparing these, like, for these questions, but then I thought, I haven't done a video in so long that I should just go ahead and do it. So hopefully it's not too confusing for you guys. Okay, so the last question is about Facebook and if I have a Facebook. And I know other people have asked me about my other social media, so I guess I'll just talk about all of this now. That technically I do have a Facebook for this. It's not really for this channel. It's for everything that has to do with my interest in fashion. And I guess this channel sort of also came from my desire to spread awareness. Well, I could go on something that I could go on about for a long time, and in an effort to keep this video from getting extremely, extremely long, the gist of it is that there's a lot of people in the sort of fashion and makeup community on YouTube that make luxury seem inaccessible or something. I don't know. They make it seem hoity-toity, or I don't quite know what word I want to use, but I guess inaccessible or difficult to access is the easiest way to describe it. And that's something, obviously, that I don't agree with. I think I've talked about this in a video, sort of, but when somebody sort of tells me I can't do something or that something is beyond my reach, I will figure out a way to get it or to do it. So with luxury, as you I'm sure luxury designer items, whatever you want to call them, I'm sure it's pretty obvious from my videos that I do have a penchant. I don't know if that's the right word, but I have a hobby of collecting pretty things. I like pretty things. So, and designer items are beautiful. They're beautifully made, and they're usually more creative if you're getting things that are creatively made. I won't talk about that right now, but anyway, there is a lot of copying that is done between designers and things like this, but not as much actually in the vintage. So that's another reason why I like vintage. But luxury items don't have to be inaccessible just because you don't have a lot of money. And so I wanted to start this channel And one of the things I guess that was an obstacle too is that I didn't know what I wanted to focus on. And once I realized that that was something I have a lot of knowledge about, how to authenticate designer, vintage, secondhand things, and I wanted to share that. So, long story short, my Facebook is kind of attached to that. Originally, like I think I mentioned in another video, I kind of, for a while, was helping a consignment store in my area procure designer items on the secondhand market. Although I haven't been doing that as much in the last 6 to 8 months or so. But it's something that I have done. And so originally, my Facebook was kind of focused more on that. And I had a Twitter, I still do, and a Instagram, but they were very short-lived. So I am really debating as to whether or not I want to use those or if I want to start new ones for just this channel. By the time I post this, I think I'll probably make a decision. So if you see the links in the description box to my social media, then I guess you'll know that I've decided to share them. And if not, then I'm still figuring that out. And another reason why I haven't shared them, because they're not directly, I guess, related to the channel, although they are in a way, is that I am terrible at Facebook. Well, I wasn't always, actually. I had an addiction to Facebook that was terrible for a couple of years, actually. But then I went cold turkey. I quit Facebook for a while. And I did sort of reactivate my account at one point, but I just never used it really again after that very much. I say happy birthday to people, but other than that, I don't really use Facebook that much, and I don't really use Instagram that much. I just don't have time. I do like Twitter probably the best out of all of them, but even that I don't use very much just because I'm so limited with time. So if I do give you guys my social media accounts, I just want to give you guys a warning now that it is highly probable that I will not use them very much. So that's another reason I didn't really want to disappoint you guys and give them to you and then have them kind of just sit unused. Although maybe if we are all friends on there, then I might use them more, but I really like YouTube a lot, the way the comments work and the way I can interact with you guys here. So I probably would lean towards using YouTube more than anything else to communicate with you all, but I don't know. I know that was just a very, very confused answer. Long story short is, I kind of have social media accounts, but I'm not sure yet if I'm going to share them. And if I do, I'm not sure how much I'll actually use them. So I don't know if that really answered the question, but that's the state of things, I guess. So, next question. Okay. And now we have some questions from another email. And her name is Shanzay. I believe she told me that I could use her name. So there are a few of them. The first one is, oops, sorry, I don't want to get my iPad in the shot here. How were you introduced to ASMR? So I've actually experienced ASMR pretty much all my life. I can remember having ASMR experiences as early as like 4 years old, probably. I thought it was just something that everybody experienced. I didn't realize it was sort of a peculiar thing, I guess. And so I think it started when I was doing my first master's degree. I remember when I first got the iPhone, and I can remember we have a kitty here, so I'm not sure how noisy he's going to be, but I can remember lying in bed watching YouTube videos at night trying to go to sleep. And one night I just happened to stumble upon some massage videos, and I can remember being transfixed by them. They were so relaxing. And when fast forward, now during my doctorate and second master's, I was having a lot of problems sleeping, which I mentioned earlier was a pretty hard time for me. I remembered that that I had watched those videos and they had been kind of relaxing, more than kind of really. And so I was watching or trying to find more videos like that. And I basically stumbled onto the ASMR community. And the rest, as they say, is history, I guess. I became hopelessly addicted and have very few nights since my initial discovery of ASMR that I haven't watched it. So, like I said, this I think has been the longest period that I haven't watched ASMR since 2012. So I'm hoping, actually, I do suffer from some ASMR immunity now, so I'm hoping maybe that my little break will help to intensify my ASMR experiences. I'm going to try to take a break from it until my semester starts, so we'll see if I can make it that long. Next semester is going to be pretty intense, so I'm going to need all the tingles I can get. Shanse's next question is one that I don't think I'm going to be able to really answer. And it is, who is your favorite ASMR artist? And that's like asking me, like, what? I think actually somebody did ask me what my favorite music is, or something, who's my favorite band, or it's just another one of those questions that is really impossible for me to answer. I always have difficulties choosing favorites of anything. So one of the few things that I can say that I have a favorite is favorite designer, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys realize that that's Dior. But I do have a playlist that is called ASMR Awesome, and it is full of ASMR videos that I have repeated many times over. Typically, some of those videos I've probably watched 100 times each. So, one of them actually probably more like 500 times. And I am going to give a shout out to a couple people. Well, basically everybody on that list I love, and I could call up my favorite, but there is one ASMR artist who unfortunately is no longer with us, who I adore. And if you like me, I feel like she was very kind of influential in a way. Her name is Amethyst Whispers, and her voice is like the most mellifluous honey you could imagine. It's such a beautiful timbre. It's like listening to, I don't know, a fairy or something. It's very beautiful. And then I also want to give a shout out to another very kind of lesser known ASMR artist called Lisa Bell. Although I should warn people that these are people that typically don't do any visuals in their videos. They're audio only mostly, which I do like visuals too, so it's not that I am, I guess, against visuals, or I like audio only better. It's just that the timbre of their voices is very beautiful to me, I guess. And also I guess I find their styles possibly slightly similar in a way. So, if you like me, I feel like you might like them too. As long as you don't mind the lack of visual stimulus. But, basically, to answer the question, go check out my ASMR Awesome playlist, and any one of the people on that list I could basically say I love and watch frequently. So it's a really hard question, basically. Actually, the next one is, who is your favorite music artist? And I meant to say this at the beginning of the video that I have been slightly sick lately, so if my voice sounds kind of weird and I sound like I'm kind of raspy or, I don't know, sniffly or something, it's because of that. So the next question, who is my favorite music artist, is another one. Like I said, I really can't answer very well. I listen to all kinds of music, from classical, obviously, to rap, R&B, even country music. I kind of take it on a song-by-song basis, like some music from a certain artist I might like, and then others I might not. So it's kind of hard for me to say I have one favorite artist. If you like opera, then I'll just say that I love the great opera singer Maria Callas. She is super famous, so but there are many others that I love as well. I love the Beatles, actually. If I have to choose an artist, maybe I'd choose them, just because when I was, I guess, in middle school, I became hopelessly obsessed with the Beatles, and I read every book I could and bought all their albums. So, but I love many different artists for certain songs or albums. But I should say here that I have a guilty pleasure that is international pop music. So I love to, well, being in linguistics and second language acquisition, I like to experience as many languages as I can. And one of the ways I do that, and it's actually something I did even before I started my master's or second master's in linguistics, but I love pop music from other countries. And so I know a lot of people dislike popular genre, like the pop music genre, but pop music is like candy, and it's very enjoyable in a very simple and just non-intellectual way, I guess you could say. Something you can just enjoy. And, or at least I should say I can just enjoy. And pop music from other countries is really enjoyable. I love Eurovision. And I like to download the songs that are in the contest every year. And then just random pop music groups from around the world. I'm going to give a shout out to Tarkan from Turkey. I love him. And there are some Arabic and K-pop groups. Shiny comes to mind immediately. So, although I'm not even sure they're still very popular. This was a few years ago. I haven't listened or haven't sought out new international pop bands for a while. But anyway, so yes, that is a guilty pleasure for sure. Okay. Okay, so the next question is, what is my favorite song? And that's another one. There's so many. I can't say favorites. It's really hard for me to say favorites, so I'm not going to really answer that one either. I apologize. But if you guys want me to, I can make a playlist of music that I like and call it something, I don't know, something with alliteration. I love alliterative things. Something probably like musical masterpieces or something. I don't know. But I can make a playlist of songs that I like, if you guys would like me to. They'll be pretty random. That's all I can probably say about them. Okay. So the next question is, what do I study? And I pretty much answered that. I have studied music. I was an opera singer, still am kind of, and currently studying linguistics, ESL, and education, leadership, and administration. Oh, the next one's a hard one. What's my favorite childhood memory? Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to share this one with you guys. And this is going to be long. I'm super sorry about the length of this video. I can already tell this is going to be awful. Okay, so anyway. I should have brought it with me. I should have read these questions earlier now. But anyway, maybe one day I will have him. Well, okay. I'm sure you guys have noticed I'm super rambly and my train of thought is always all over the place. So I hope you guys are still with me. But the memory is that when I was 3.5, probably between 3.5 and 4. I don't think I was quite 4 years old yet, but something like this. We went to a dinner party. I went to a dinner party that my parents took me to. And the people that, when we went, the people that were throwing the party had kids. And one of their daughters, I think, had this stuffed unicorn. And when I was little, I was obsessed with unicorns, and I loved everything about unicorns. And I think the obsession came from that 80s movie, The Last Unicorn. I watched it a lot when I was little. But anyway, so we went to their house, and of course the kids went into the kids' room to play, and I saw this stuffed unicorn, and I fell in love with it. And I basically carried it around the whole night, and I told my parents, I think, that it was Unico, which is the name of the unicorn from The Last Unicorn. And at the end of the night, when I had to leave, and I had to leave Unico behind, I was devastated, basically. And I have a very clear memory of the night, although obviously my parents have told me the story, but I was supposedly extremely upset, and my memories of I remember being pretty inconsolable with grief at the loss of that unicorn. And so what ended up happening was, I don't actually know how long in between time-wise, but the people who we went to their house ended up coming to my parents' house. And my parents had a dinner party and invited that family. And I can remember when we went out to meet them when they got there. The mother of the little girl pulled out of her purse Unico, and she told me that I basically had loved it so much that it really should be mine. And they gave me Unico, the unicorn. And I was elated. I mean, the joy that I felt over getting that unicorn was something that I remember still to this day. Like, I can remember vividly, like, the whole scene around me. Like, I can close my eyes and see, like, walking up to we actually were living in an apartment, high-rise in DC then. And I just remember the entire scene like it was playing out in a movie, and how happy I was getting that silly stuffed unicorn. And I subsequently basically was inseparable from the unicorn for a couple years at least. He went everywhere with me, and I still have Unico today. He lives on my bed. Sometimes he falls down, but he eventually always goes back to the bed. And he's very dirty, probably gross, but I will always love him, and I will always remember those kind people, I guess. And I will always appreciate that gesture. It was very beautiful in a way. It sounds silly, but to like a 3-4-year-old child, it was incredibly moving in a way. It was a profound gesture for a child. But actually, it kind of was in a way, because I think it showed me the power of giving at a very young age. And I love giving to people gifts, actual things, as well as just, being there for people. And I don't know. When I was in Chicago, actually, I have a scarf fetish or collection, whatever you want to call it. I collect scarves, and so one of the things that I used to do is people would very frequently comment on my scarves, and often I would just take them off and give them to the person. Like if they really seemed like they really liked it a lot, I would just take it off and say, here, you should have this. So it's kind of a really fun thing to do if you've never done it before. When somebody compliments you, you can tell that they really, really like it. Like, giving it to them, it makes you feel really, I don't know, you feel very good. It's nice to make people happy. There were a couple, though, that I was incredibly attached to, so I did hang on to those, but okay, so that's my favorite childhood memory, or at least the first one that comes to mind when I looked at the question. And like I said, one day, you guys, I will have Unico come and say hello. But he's unfortunately not with me now. I'm actually at my parents' house. So, he doesn't travel with me. Not anymore. Okay. The next question is, what is my favorite TV show ever? This is another guilty pleasure. So, I know I mentioned earlier that I do some metadata work, which kind of basically just is comprised of me filling out spreadsheets, typically. And often it's very, monotonous, rote, kind of. You don't really have to do a lot of thinking to do it. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you don't. And so one of the things that I do sometimes while I'm just filling out spreadsheets is I'll put television on, and then I do sometimes come home at night and watch TV. And it's totally one of those guilty pleasure kind of things. And I watch all kinds of TV shows. So it's going to be another one of those things where it's hard for me to have a favorite. But if I was going to say, there are so many that are so good. It's really hard to choose. I guess I'll just say some things that I watch and I think are worth checking out. I don't know. I mean, I watched The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, obviously, that are very popular. Now, whether or not they have a whole lot of merit beyond just being enjoyable is probably debatable, but I enjoy those two shows a lot. I watch Vikings. I watch Jane the Virgin, a lot of CW shows. Those are my really, really guilty TV pleasures. And Hell's Kitchen. I really like Gordon Ramsay. He yells a lot. And for some reason, his yelling and anger helps to release my own stress. So, thank you, Gordon Ramsay, for that. But, so some of the CW shows like The Flash and Arrow and Jane the Virgin, like I said. I do like Vampire Diaries. I'm gonna admit to that one. Some of the better shows, I guess, like things that I think people should watch, are like The Americans. I think it's an amazingly done show that really challenges you to see things from different perspectives than you normally would. That's a FX show. The Bridge, which was an FX show, was amazing as well. I just watched The Night Of, which was really kind of a sad kind of thing, but it was extremely well done. I don't know. I'm sure I'm missing the one that I'm like, in editing, for a lot of these questions, I know when I'm editing this, I'm gonna be like, oh, I should have said this or that. So I think I'm gonna have to leave it there. Perhaps in the future I'll do another one of these and I'll prepare for it, because I can see now, having actually gotten into it, preparation probably would have been helpful. But I guess you learn by trial and error, so yeah, that gives you, I guess, an idea. I basically watch television to escape my dissertation sometimes. So, and I don't have cable, so I'm gonna admit to watching them online. And if you've never tried a website called couchtuner.com, or it's not .com anymore, I think it's couchtuner.ag now, something like that. Pretty much any television show you can imagine, they have it. Sometimes it can take a little practice figuring out how to work the site, but once you figure it out, there's pretty much not anything you could really imagine that isn't there. So, okay, on to the next one. Okay, the next question is, dead or alive, name 3 people you'd like to have dinner with. They can be celebrities, and people you know personally can be named as well. Okay, 3 people I'd like to have dinner with. So most of the people I would probably want to have dinner with are probably from the past, just because I guess I have, obviously, personal experience with the time period that we're living in. So I would be most likely to want to have dinner with people from the past, just because, to get a perspective on the world that I myself have very limited access to, and by limited I mean through historical records that we have, or if it's someone from, the Renaissance on. We do have literature and music and sort of mediums like that do give you a kind of mediated glimpse of the worlds in which those people lived, but it's not the same as being able to experience it yourself, obviously. The first person, when I read the question that came to mind, weirdly, although it's not weird, but I didn't think I would have thought of this person first, but it's Leonardo da Vinci. For obvious reasons. I feel that I must say composer. And it's really hard to choose one composer in particular. On the one hand, I want to say Wagner because he had some incredibly intriguing ideas about music. But I'm going to say something slightly blasphemous for a singer and say I don't really like Wagner's operas. I appreciate them for the amazing works of art that they are, but sitting through them is not something I do for pleasure. Let's just say that. So I don't know if sitting through a dinner with Wagner would really be enjoyable when you think about the way his operas are. I would probably say Beethoven just because his music is so... It sort of took everything that classical music was before him and totally transformed it. And his expressive and transformative powers, I guess, when it comes to musical composition is just... Okay, so, sorry, I am back from a slight interruption, and my train of thought got slightly broken there. But basically, so I said Leonardo da Vinci, which kind of surprised me, but that was for obvious reasons. And then also Beethoven, because Wagner I think would be difficult to have a dinner with. And it's just because his music is so, well, it's amazingly beautiful. But it was also extremely innovative for the time he was composing. And I think it would just be very intriguing to see how his mind works. Or I guess to talk to him, which having conversation allows you sort of a small window into someone's mind. So third person would have to be someone from antiquity. Maybe Hildegard von Bingen. That's another composer, technically. She was a very unique woman, though. She just popped into my head. She was very progressive in a way. For her time, she was a nun and a composer. I'm trying to think if there would be anybody else. I guess that is 3, so I would have to really, if I were ever to be given the serious possibility of doing that, it would take much more deliberation, and I'm not sure that would be my final choice. I guess I have to give that disclaimer, but those are the people that pop into my head at this very moment. So so the next question is, what do you see yourself, or where do you see yourself in 10 years' time, both in life and on YouTube? Oh man. Okay. Another difficult one. So obviously my plan originally was something very different than this. I mean, I thought I was going to be pursuing a career in opera. So I kind of mentioned earlier that my plan up until about the last 8 months was to go and work in the Middle East. It's kind of a complicated story as to why I originally chose to go there, but a lot of it was just financial. If you can get a job in Dubai or Doha, places like this, they often pay expats a lot, and I basically just wanted to go over there to make money and save money for, a house, probably in the States, I don't know. But with the oil prices, what they are, I know Saudi Arabia has just recently instituted a tax, which is really, really hard for me to imagine. And, just the general upheaval, which has not seemed to have died down. I never would have imagined that the Syrian war would have gone on this long or escalated to the point that it has. So it's something that I guess I've sort of started rethinking. I know my parents really are not interested in me going over there, so just for, safety reasons and things like that. But okay, so we just got interrupted again by a very loud procession of vehicles, and I totally lost my train of thought again. So I think it was somewhere around the lines of planning on doing is probably applying to some academic positions here in the States, just because I know that my parents will be very unhappy if I do not. And I am also going to apply overseas as well. One of the reasons why I wanted to be overseas too is that has to do with singing. I don't not sing anymore. I do still sing. I just don't do it professionally the way I was doing before I started my doctoral program. So it's very complicated, the music or the classical music industry for voice. But the kind of voice that I have is not very supported, I guess you can say. And so, or I should say supported in the United States. And so taking a job overseas would allow me to be closer to auditions in Europe, basically. So that was another reason for that. Basically, I'm not sure. So that's about all I can give you for that one. 10 years, I don't know. I know I should have my plan all worked out, but at this point, I really don't. Ask me again in a year, where I'm hopefully either done with my doctorate or just about to graduate. Well, no, actually, it's January, so I would have just graduated if worse comes to worse with my dissertation. But yeah, so I should know more. Really, I'll know more in 4 months. I just have to get this proposal out of the way. And then the second part of that question was, what do I see myself doing on YouTube in 10 years? So I still see myself probably hopelessly addicted to ASMR. And I have so enjoyed making these videos that hopefully I will still be doing that. You guys are so amazing. And I'm not sure. I think one of the questions that I'll have in a little while, we'll talk about this more, but one of the things that I'm doing research on is community building in organizations and how to facilitate connections and communication, I guess, in hierarchical structures within organizations or groups of individuals with sort of like or shared goals, but it's not just goals the way, you think of like a goal as in, maybe building a house or collecting so much money for a project or something like this, but I guess you can say shared interests. And one of the things that I found very fascinating since starting this channel is the latent potentials, or the potential that I see within YouTube to create better, more strengthened communities. I know that there is a lot of trolling on YouTube. I'm not going to say that YouTube is some idyllic, happy wonderland all the time, but I think that there are latent potential, like community building facets of this platform that aren't completely utilized, or I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to express the idea, so I'm gonna just kind of leave it at that. Well, I think somebody asked me specifically about research, so I'm gonna save any more of that discussion for later, but yeah, that's sort of the short end. I hope to still be, creating videos and interacting with this community, so it's very special, and I'm not sure how I would have survived the last 5 years without it, so okay. Ooh, it's another hard one. Okay, who is my inspiration in life? And that's going to be another one that I really can't answer clearly. I would say intellectually, my inspiration is my father. He is probably the smartest person I will ever get to speak with. He is profoundly intelligent, and he knows so many things about so many things. So, I guess ethically and morally, my inspiration would be my mother, because she is probably the best and kindest person that I've ever known. Creatively, I'm inspired by so many people. I mean, anytime I see something creative, I feel inspiration. So, I mean, there are tons of people in this community, for example, that I find incredibly inspiring. I mean, it's really, I want to start naming people, but it would be an injustice because to name one person or 5 people just wouldn't do it justice. So I'm just going to say that there are many people in this community that are incredibly inspiring creatively, musically. I mean, there are people that have inspired me personally that I worked with. My first voice teacher was profoundly inspirational. She is the reason why I started singing seriously, and I don't know. But then just other people that I have had the great fortune to perform with. I won't name any names, and then just people that you can, listen to, like, as I mentioned, Kalas was obvious. She was a great inspiration of mine, especially when I was younger. I mean, there's so many. It's hard to choose. Jesse Norman would probably be another one. Just last night I was talking about, I think it's Ava Podlesh or Ava Podlesh. I'm not sure. She's a contralto. The pronunciation of her name has always been difficult for me. I don't know if there are any opera singers listening to this, but I don't know. Anyway, I can't really tell you one person because there are multiple people. But I want to say here, just because I think it's very important that people have, people they look up to, because in life we should always strive to better ourselves, and I don't know, without people that you can look up to, it's really hard to reach higher levels because you have no one to sort of follow or emulate in a way. So it's a very important question, and one I probably should think more about. Okay, the next question is, do you have any siblings or pets? This one's a little more straightforward, and my parents are divorced, so I have one brother that's like a full brother, and then I have 2 half brothers. And then pets. Well, I personally have 1 cat, and I may insert a picture here, but my cat's name is Mr. Pips. He kind of found me about a year ago, a little over a year ago now. And actually you can see him in one of my videos, or a couple of my videos actually. He's sort of in the background, and then in another one he sort of made a surprise guest appearance. So but my mother also has cats, so when I go home, well, really when I travel anywhere, Mr. Pips comes with me. If it's, well, really anywhere. I've never been anywhere so far that he couldn't come, so but then at home my mom here she actually has 4 cats. They all basically found her, and they are, well, there's Martin, Opie, Bagel, and Yowley. So, and they all have their little individual stories, which I could tell you guys one day, but I'm looking at the clock and we're not even halfway through this, so I'm getting really worried about how long this is going to go. So I'm going to just leave it there. Okay, the next one is, do I have a favorite animal? Well, I would have to say that Mr. Pips is probably my favorite animal because he's my animal, and he is a cat. I do like cats a lot, but we did have dogs when I was growing up. So, I don't know. I guess because it's been a while since our dogs passed away. We had 2 Whippets when I was growing up. They were siblings, and they were wonderful dogs. And I do love dogs, but I think now, I guess, that I've only had cats for so long, and I've gotten so used to their independence, it's hard to go back to having a dog again. So, exotic animals, I don't know. I love fish and aquariums. I've always found aquariums to be incredibly relaxing. Our next question is, what is my favorite makeup brand ever? I would have to say Dior, just because I love Dior, and they do actually make pretty good makeup. But if I was going to answer this more seriously, I would have to say it depends on the product, because some makeup brands do things better than others, and it's hard to, pick one that is the best at everything. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think I can choose one. Only one. I would have to say Dior, just because of how much I just love Dior. And other than that, it's a product by product basis. I mean, there's some products that I absolutely love from certain companies, and other things from the same company I'll just really dislike. So, and there's some things at Dior that are not that great. So even at Dior, it's really, I can't really just say it's across the board kind of thing. Now, if you're talking about fragrances, I can say probably with certainty that Dior is my favorite fragrance house, just because I own not all of Dior's fragrances, but I own a lot. And I know they're not a niche house, but I collect Dior vintages, like vintage fragrances. I have some from the 50s and the 60s. And my signature fragrance is vintage Dior Parfum, the Diorama. And so if I'm going to have a signature fragrance, I'm going to just say that that's my favorite perfume house. So, but there are so many perfume houses that I also love. It's a very difficult question. I'm not good at picking favorites of anything, if I'm sure you've noticed. So, okay, the next question is a fun one. And it is, if you were stranded on a desert island, what 3 things would you take with you? Okay. So when I was, I think in the 4th grade, our teacher read us the book Hatchet. And it was very influential in my life. And I used to have like an emergency wilderness kit that I had like in the car, or I don't know, I had usually close by, because I was always, thinking something was going to occur. I would need to be able to brave the wilderness or whatever. And so, well, actually, if I ever do a what's in my bag video, you'll see I still carry around some of these kinds of things. But anyway, and I actually am going to do one eventually, because some people have requested it, so I shouldn't say if I'm going to, it's when I will. But at this point in my life, with all the things I've experienced, if I could only take 3 things, it would be very difficult, because I actually do like watching those shows like Naked and Afraid. And actually there's a History Channel show called Alone, which is really quite interesting. It's a survival show as well. And the thing that I just could never deal with is the lack of water. I drink a lot of water, like about a gallon a day. And it's mostly stemming, I guess, from being a singer. You drink a lot of water. And it's something that I got used to a long time ago. And I can't really handle being dehydrated. And when I say dehydrated, I mean if I can't drink at least 3 liters of water a day, or at least 2, really 3, I'll feel dehydrated. I don't know. And I couldn't deal without water. So I would need some kind of water purification device that was very, very reliable and efficient. I'm not quite sure what that is. Really, I would like to just take a huge, like cargo ship or something, those huge, massive cargo barges, fill it with, bottled water and then have them dump it with me on the island. That would be my I guess, utopian way of having my water, but I guess that's most likely would never happen. I mean, this would probably never happen anyway, but if we're going to take the question seriously, some kind of water purification device would be my first choice. My second choice would be some kind of blade, like a knife of some kind. And then my third device would be, I'm not very good at starting fires. I was in the Girl Scouts when I was younger, but that was one of my badges I never really got. So I would probably say a fire starter, but that was just, those are just really, nuts and bolts kind of things. But I guess if I was on a desert island or a deserted island, those would probably be the most important. If I could bring, if those things were already there and I could have, amenities, then I would probably say I would probably just say my phone, if I could have Wi-Fi and power. So those are the 3 things, actually. If I could have amenities, then I would have my phone, which would have power and Wi-Fi. Because with those things, I can have music, I can have books, I can have YouTube. So, anyway, I guess that's technically 6 things, but yeah. Okay, next question is, what is your favorite type of food and sweet treat? And I would have to say food would be Mediterranean cuisines, everything from Italian to, the more Arabic style, and Turkish foods. I actually love Turkish food. When I lived in Chicago, there was a Turkish restaurant that was right down the street from my house, and it was so good. So, I do actually like sushi a lot too, but I would probably say Mediterranean cuisines first and foremost. And for sweets, I would have to say anything chocolate, probably. I do have a sweet tooth, unfortunately. One of my little brothers really doesn't like sugar, and I have always really envied that. So, okay, what is the meaning of my name? We kind of covered this already, and it's a river, and I'm pretty sure it's in northern England, or Scotland, or somewhere in the UK. So, what is my ethnicity is the next one. And my family is mostly from Europe, France. We have Dutch, French, and I guess just general UK. I know my grandfather had Irish, and I think my father's side has British. But I know my mother's side also has French and Dutch, so it's just basically European. So okay, so our next question is, do you enjoy reading books? And if so, what is your favorite book? And I do really enjoy reading. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, especially these days because I'm working on my dissertation and all I basically read is related to my research for my dissertation. And they're mostly academic papers or books that support the academic, or not support, but that are related to the academic papers that I read. And so basically nonfiction stuff these days, it's not that interesting, except I can say that one of my favorite books of all time is called Democracy and Moral Development. I know it sounds kind of intimidating, and it is a philosophical book, but it is written, I think, in a very accessible way. Like, it's very clear and coherently written, and it has some very important ideas that I think are important for people to encounter. Whether or not they agree, that is, everyone should question things, and if you agree or don't agree, obviously, everyone will feel differently, but there are ideas in the book that I think are important for people to experience. And so it's Democracy and Moral Development by David L. Norton, if anyone is interested. It's a very good read. And it does have to do, it's an alternative sort of way of thinking about education, but it has way, like, the implications are far broader than just education. And education is something that everyone experiences, so it's not really, I guess, out of the question that people that are not in the education field should read it, because, even if you're not going through education yourself, you probably know people that are, or your children are, and we're actually educating ourselves in informal ways every day. So yeah, I recommend it. Okay, the next question is, what is my favorite movie, or what are my top 3 favorite movies if I cannot decide? And I'm going to be honest and say I don't watch a lot of movies. I like television more than movies, because I guess there's just no way that someone can do in 2 hours or 3 hours what you can do these days with, 10 episodes on Netflix, or, one of the shows that I really like is House of Cards. I forgot that one earlier. But I just like the level of detail and depth that you get in the really amazing, television series that we have these days, which are really, they have nowadays famous movie stars are in TV shows, so it's not even, it's not like it used to be. So I really prefer television, but I guess if I had to choose 3 movies or 1 movie, the first thing that comes to mind right now is Star Wars and the 3 movies, the original trilogy. There are a lot of movies that I like. I guess nothing Nothing really jumps out at me other than that right now, though, so. Yeah. It's just one of those things that I'm not good at favorites, so. That was the first thing that jumped out with Star Wars, so that's what I'm going to go with today. Okay. The next question is, do you speak other languages, and if so, how many? And the short answer is fluently, just English. But I have studied French, Italian, and German, Spanish, kind of studied Turkish, and kind of studied Arabic. And I can say things in each of those languages, and some of them I can say more than others in. Some of them I can read better in than others. But if you drop me in the middle of those countries and I had no one around that I knew or that spoke English, I would probably be screwed in every situation. So I don't want to say I'm fluent in any of them, unfortunately. I don't know if somebody asked this yet, or I can't remember, but if I had one wish, it would be to speak every language in the world fluently. So, and there are many reasons why I would choose that, but this is already way too long, so I'm just going to keep going. Okay, actually that was the last of the email questions, so now I'm going to go to the actual questions on the video. And I think this is already like 3 hours so far, so I'm going to have to do a lot of editing. Okay, so the first question is, am I using a 3D camera? And that was asked by Wonder Woman. And no, I'm not. I have so far just my cell phone. I've only used my iPhone 6s Plus. I am hoping to get another camera, a better one in the future. But so far, this has worked out pretty well. And I want to be able to get the camera that I want, and the camera that I want is pretty expensive, so we're still saving up for it. Okay, Kelly Briggs asks, what shows or movies do you love? And I've pretty much talked about that already. And who do you follow for ASMR artists? Kelly also asked. And as I said, I watch so many different people in the community. I guess my favorite ones are in the playlist ASMR Awesome, so just go check that out. Although that's really not all of my favorites, probably. I know that I'm forgetting people, and I really apologize. There's just so many talented people these days, and really from the start. So Lazy Stars asks, what's my favorite makeup brand? And I kind of answered that already. It's one of those ones that's really difficult, but I'll say again, Dior, but that's just because I have a Dior obsession and don't go and buy everything from Dior thinking it's going to be awesome, because they do have some stuff that I would definitely tell you not to buy. But that'll be a video for another day, I suppose. Okay, so Sierra Elizabeth says, what made you start your own ASMR channel and what equipment do you use? So I basically already answered that. The Blue Yeti microphone and my phone. What made me start? I think I pretty much answered that. I just wanted to give back and just sort of see what it was like to make videos, and it ended up being really awesome and amazing beyond what I initially could have imagined. So okay, she says, where are you from? Which I pretty much answered already. And what do I study? I did talk about that as well. What is my favorite handbag designer and makeup brand? So I would have to say Dior again, for many reasons. Well, I have reasons why I'm obsessed with them. This is already very long. So if you want to know more about my Dior obsession, I can do a video on it. But basically I would say Dior, but saying that, there are many handbag designers that I love. So I don't exclusively carry Dior, but I do collect Dior handbags, I guess you can say. Oof. Okay, the next one is, she asks, if price were no obstacle, what is your holy grail bag? I know that I should say a Birkin bag, probably the alligator Himalayan Birkin, because it is a very beautiful bag. If you just, well, it's beautiful. I can appreciate its beauty, but the Birkin bag is really not my aesthetic. It's very stuffy. I don't know if that's the right word. It's a classic bag, and I appreciate what it is. And I guess if I was rolling in dough, I would probably get one just to satisfy my need to experience the hype. Now, whether or not I actually kept it, I couldn't say for sure until I actually had one, but I don't know. I know that, I guess that's everyone's holy grail bag in a way. But I would probably say if money were no obstacle and I already had a Birkin, just because, those are pretty much the most expensive you can buy, it would probably be a Chanel flat bag. One of the exotics, probably Python. A double flap, probably. It would be hard to say whether or not. Well, other than if you wanted to, I don't know. This is a hard question. So Monica D asks me, what is my favorite makeup brand, which I've talked about. Favorite place you have traveled. Okay. I would probably have to say Machu Picchu in Peru. Just because it was, well, not just because, it was really amazing. It was kind of a spiritual experience in a way. If you've ever been there, you probably understand what I'm saying, but I was pretty young when I went, so I wish I could go back. Well, I was a teenager, but I was in middle school. But even in my kind of, immature state, I was able to apprehend, the sort of, there's a profoundness about that place that you have to experience for yourself. And I think it's one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, so you can really see why when you go. If you could instantly learn one language, which one would you pick? Monica asks. See, this is one that's going to be really difficult. I know I mentioned that if I only had one wish, it would be to learn every language fluently that is still alive. Although I would probably include Latin, which is technically a dead language, but every language currently in use in the world, many languages have unfortunately died. So, or even, actually, if it's a wish, why not? Every language that's ever been spoken on the face of the earth in the entire history of the human race. That's better. I like that one better. Why limit myself if it's a wish, right? So, to pick one only, it would be extremely difficult. Top 5 would probably be French, Korean. Well, it's really difficult because I would like to learn Japanese, Korean, and Chinese, although the Mandarin Chinese has multiple dialects, so also like to learn Arabic and Turkish. I kind of want to learn a lot of the non-Western languages because they have very different roots and they are structured very differently from Western languages, and there are a lot of theories of language that deal with the sort of the way you think is well, it depends. It's very controversial, but the way you think is highly influenced by the language that you speak, and so languages that share similarities have more similarities in structure and things like this. And so more closely related languages will share, I guess, if you agree with the theories, they would share more closely related structures of thought. And so learning non-Western languages gives you a very different perspective on the world in a way. So, but I would like to learn French just because it is so beautiful. So, and technically English is a Germanic language, although it is highly influenced by French. So, I don't know. Difficult question, probably not a very good answer, but it's another one of those that I can't answer very definitively. So, oh, and if you'd like to learn more about language and thought, just let me know because I would love to do a video on it one day. Okay, what is my favorite time of the year and why? Okay, probably the winter. I prefer colder climates to warmer ones, which would not benefit me if I do end up going to the Middle East to work, but I have lived in Texas and, southern states, so I am used to the heat as well, but I do prefer colder climates in the winter. And my favorite part of the winter is probably the holidays. I am a sucker for anything sentimental, and the holidays are just a warm, happy time. So, okay, she also asks, what activities do I like to do in my free time? These days I don't really have a lot of free time. I'm mostly doing things either for school or for one of my jobs or for this channel, although I know that this channel has been sorely neglected and I do apologize again for that. But I would say probably writing poetry was one of the things I used to do in my free time. I do watch television sometimes, so I guess that is technically free time. Although I often do it while I'm doing something else, so I guess you could say that music at this point is, since it's no longer something I'm directly pursuing for a profession, it's something that I would do in my free time. And so I do try to practice and learn new music, although I haven't learned any new pieces in like a year, so it's been quite a while, but I still sing, and that's done in my free time now. And I guess one of the things I do sometimes at night, other than listening to ASMR, some nights I just need something in addition to ASMR, and usually I like to search eBay, mostly, for deals on secondhand bags and other designer accessories and shoes and such. Although I haven't been doing that as much as I used to, or I was doing lately, just because I don't have a lot of time. And I can't really, I would say reading, but I don't do pleasure reading anymore. And I guess the other thing that I would say is I love talking to people and just being with friends, talking. Conversation is one of my favorite pastimes. So there's nothing as thrilling. Well, I don't want to say nothing, but a great conversation is one of my favorite things, I guess you can say. And conversations can be very thrilling sometimes. So. Okay, she asks as well, what camera and mic do I use? Which I've answered. What am I studying in school? Which I've also answered. Do you have a favorite ASMR video? And that's something it's too hard to answer. There's so many. Check out my playlist. What kinds of things do I like? Books, music, TV shows, movies, nerdy things, etc. So I know I've talked about books and music and TV and movies. I'm sure some of you have seen. I like science fiction, and I guess one of the more pleasure reading I used to do was I did like Isaac Asimov. No, I still do, I guess. You don't stop liking something like that, but I haven't read it in a long time. And I like Star Wars and Star Trek and I don't know, things like that. Well, I don't know if that's really nerdy, but I used to play writing games with my friends in undergrad, and even into my master's degree, which I guess was pretty nerdy. I have a very old thesaurus from I don't know, the 1920s or 30s, like an incredibly old thesaurus that has some extremely obscure and florid words in it that you just would never hear or even see in a thesaurus these days. And we used to go to coffee shops and things like this often. I still go sometimes, but I don't really have time anymore. But it was something we would do every night in undergrad. And we would pass this thesaurus around and each choose, a few words depending upon how many people were playing at that time. And we would all have to write something with the words that we had chosen. And it was a super awesome fun game. And I've actually considered trying to start it up with people on the internet, but I haven't figured out quite how we could all do that. It might get massively out of hand, but it's a really fun thing if you like writing to play. And then of course, you set a time frame that people have to write their piece in that uses the words, and then you all come back and share them. So it's a great exercise, but it's also fun. Okay, and her last question is, do I have any pets? And yes, I do. Pippi, or Mr. Pips. Pippi's what is it we call, or I call him. Whoever's around him calls him for short. And he's actually interrupted this video at least twice now, so he's always around. Okay, so the next question is from Amazing German is Not on Fire. And they ask, what does after a fashion mean? And when I originally got this question, it was sometime after I posted the video, and I know, by the way, I'm way behind on comments, and I apologize deeply for that. It's something that I go to bed every night really upset about, so I'm going to be doing that, I promise. And but when this question was initially posed to me, I hadn't realized that it was posed, or it was asked on this video. I hadn't gotten any questions on this video for probably 3 or 4 weeks by the time it was posted, and I kind of answered it in the comment section, so if you want a detailed answer, I did provide it. But basically, when I was trying to think of a name for my channel, and basically I kind of mentioned like all of my sort of less academic or professional pursuits. I kind of knew that they would probably all have something to do with fashion and beauty, designer, accessories, handbags, etc., fashion related stuff. I wanted to come up with something that would be easily remembered and that was also pertinent or salient to the topic. And so the idiom after fashion in the English language is probably not extremely well known, but it's, you know, well known enough. And so I just chose it because idioms are kind of easy to remember. But I also thought it was kind of appropriate because I never do things in the way that I guess they're sort of to be expected, or I don't know. After a fashion just seemed appropriate somehow because it was focused on fashion, but also it was going to be different than most YouTube people focus on fashion and things like that, because I'm totally anti anything that has to do with paying full price for stuff. So I don't believe in the glorification of wealth, but I do enjoy having pretty things, I guess you could say. I know a lot of YouTubers that are in, like, beauty gurus and Instagram fashion people. They like you to think that wealth should be glorified, and it's unfortunate that well-made, beautiful things have to be only enjoyed by the, you know, the elite, wealthy people, or the people that want to seem like they are elite and wealthy. But I think that they're things that should be accessible to all people. So, anyway, I'm not going to do a huge spiel, but yeah, you can read my answer if you'd like more information on that. Our next set of questions comes from PMM, and the first one is, what is your favorite season? And it would probably be winter or fall, winter, the cold time. I like winter clothing better than summer clothing typically, so the next one is, what type of music do you like to listen to? And I talked about that. And they said they won't ask me my favorite clothing brand. What I wear and what I would like to wear are two totally different things. So I like to wear what I can find cheaply at TJ Maxx or Ross or Marshalls or eBay. Although sometimes I did find in Chicago, shopping at Marshalls, an Armani skirt, all silk, so cute, and I think it was $15 or something. So you can find very, very good deals at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Okay, the next question is, out of these, which movie genre would you watch on a night in? Action, romance, comedy, horror, or thriller? And that really just depends on my mood, because I watch everything. Although I'll be honest, it probably wouldn't be a movie. It would most likely be me binge watching a TV show of some sort. And like I said, I actually watch horror, like as horror as it can get on TV, at least, like American Horror Story and Walking Dead, which isn't really horror, but I mean, I know my dad hates horror, so I know he refuses to watch Walking Dead, so he would consider it horror. Oh, actually, I just watched The Exorcist, and that was, I watched The Exorcist on television when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and it scarred me for life, so I was pretty sure I was not going to watch The Exorcist TV show, but I did, and it was really, really good. So if you're into horror, I really recommend it. But I mean, that's not the only thing I would watch. Like I said, I watched Vampire Diaries, and I watched all of Gossip Girl, so I mean, there's really nothing that I won't watch if I have time, and typically I like to binge watch if I can. So okay, so the next question is, if money was nothing, which continent would you want to visit? And that would definitely be somewhere in Asia. I'm not sure, it would be really hard to choose, but it would definitely be an Asian country. So, although I would love to visit all of the cities in Europe, all the old cities. I don't know, really difficult question, but most likely someplace in Asia. Well, I am back from a rather extended interruption. It's actually about 12 hours later. I had someone unexpectedly come over, so I have now totally lost any train of thought that I had previously, and I hope that this is going to be coherent. I've kind of gone back and re-listened to some of what I have been saying so far, and it's going to be very interesting editing this together. So, but we're going to continue on because this is already very long. So the next question comes from Chloe Shoop, and she asks, what is your zodiac sign? And I love this question because I actually love astrology, and I know it's technically a pseudoscience, but I find it to be a lot of fun and sometimes intriguing, shall we say. So, I am a Gemini for my sun sign, but I am one of those people who have done their birth charts. So, I can also tell you that my rising sign is Libra, and my moon sign is Aquarius. And if you read about astrology, then you will come to understand that you are more than just your sun sign. Although I can have some very Geminian characteristics. I love talking, for example. And I can be sometimes, Well, Geminis are known to be a little flaky, I guess. And I wouldn't call myself flaky, but I'm easily distracted, I guess you can say. So, but I'm also very Libran. I love art and beauty, which is one of the characteristics of a Libra. Well, I guess I should tell you guys a little bit more about what sun, moon, and rising signs are. I think they're probably the three most important signs. But if you have your whole birth chart, you'll see that it's kind of complicated. So, but your sun sign is sort of the self that you keep privately, more to yourself, who you show mostly those closest to you, I guess. And your rising sign is the sign that you display more outwardly, the self that you portray to the world. So my rising sign is Libra, and I display a lot of, I think, Libran characteristics. Like I said, I love art and beauty and harmony. I'm very, very into balance and things being fair and just and right. I get very upset when I feel like there is some kind of imbalance, injustice. So, and your moon sign is your emotional sign, or the sign that sort of determines how you interact emotionally with others, and I mean with yourself as well, I guess. It rules the emotions. And Aquarius is kind of cold, actually, in a way. Well, not really. Aquarians make great friends, supposedly. So, but we have a train. But Aquarius is a very kind of intellectual sign, and it's ruled in a way by the mind. So, most likely, some of the people that I know would say that I was slightly more rational, I guess, than I am emotional, but I can also be very emotional, so we're all human beings. And as I said, the legitimacy of astrology in the minds of many people is extremely I guess not legitimate. So, but yes, that is my astrology sort of at a glance. Okay, so our next set of questions comes from Megan Williams, and she says, who are your favorite ASMR artists? And we've talked about that. What are your favorite ASMR triggers? Okay. So, I would have to say that the timbre of someone's voice is very triggering for me. And like how melodically they speak in a way. I would also say that fabric scratching or sort of rubbing is one of my more favorite triggers. I like personal attention a lot. I like it when people do things in very particular ways, or ways that are unexpected or slightly unusual, like if it takes me by surprise. So, I don't know if that makes sense, but people doing things particularly and in unusual ways, I guess. People paying very close attention to details. I find that very triggering. I have a lot of triggers, I guess, in a way. I mean, I guess it's more the composition and the particularity of if we're talking about ASMR on YouTube, the video. So, if I feel like the content creator has been very, I guess, careful in a way to like pay attention to details and, I don't know, do what they do with care in a way, then some things that I wouldn't think would trigger me do. So, but I would say fabric scratching and voice timbre are two sure bets. So, and then the next question is, what are you studying? And we talked about that. And where do I live? We talked about that. And then what is my editing process like? This is a very fun question because editing one of these videos takes hours. So it just depends on how long it is and then how much I want to add. So if I want to do some kind of interesting effects, which I don't do very much of, but like for the Halloween video, it took a lot longer, even though it was a shorter video, because I sort of was changing the lighting and things like that. So, but generally, I film the video and then I fire up Premiere Pro and just sit with my laptop for sometimes up to 12 hours, although I take breaks. I don't always do it all in one sitting. And then the uploading actually to YouTube takes a long time too, because unfortunately my internet connection is quite bad at the moment. So if you guys ever wanted to see how I use Premiere Pro or any Premiere Pro tutorials, then I could do that as well. I'm a bit new, I guess, to Premiere Pro, but because I used Photoshop for a long time before I learned it, it didn't really take too long to figure out a lot of things. Although I'm sure that I know that I have a ton of stuff to learn, and because it's all self-taught, I'm sure there are things that I could be doing more properly. But okay, and Megan's last question is, do you have any life advice to send out to the YouTube world? And this one I really wish I could think about more, because I'm sure if I thought about it, I could think of something that was a little more profound or something like that. But one of the first things that comes to mind when I see the question is something that my dad has always told me, and that is, don't self-select out. And what that means, or what I mean by that, is that a lot of the time people have opportunities in life, or people could have an opportunity perhaps, say applying for a promotion, or applying to a school, or trying out for something, or It's things like that, I guess. Don't underestimate your abilities and not try or not apply for the position or for the school, because a lot of very talented people, well, first of all, I should say that I believe that every individual is endowed with unique and innate gifts and excellences. And one of the things that education should do, if education is functioning properly, is to help people identify and nurture and develop those innate personal excellences. But because our education system is, well, at least in the USA, quite warped and doesn't focus on things that are helpful to us as human beings, sometimes what is helpful for society is not really helpful for humanity, I guess you can say. Because society is often also warped and unhealthy in a way. So it's up to us, I guess, to develop our talents and our excellences. And because of this, a lot of people don't get support support and encouragement, and people have insecurities. And so we often underestimate our abilities or don't value our own abilities highly enough. And this is something, I know it's one of those things where I know I myself don't always follow this advice, but I try to always remember, don't not do something because you don't think that you can. Because a lot of the times very gifted or very able people who would very likely get the position or into the school or whatever it might be don't apply, and so people that have less qualification end up taking the spot that you might have had. And rejection can be difficult, but it's always better not to self-select out, in my opinion. Hopefully that made sense. And then also, I guess, in line with that, try to know yourself. I know that that is a great philosophical dictum, but knowing who you are, understanding your excellences, and nurturing them, even if they're not something that our society highly values. Like, there are a lot of things that aren't of great monetary value in our society, perhaps, but there's something that you might excel at or really enjoy. And there are things that might fulfill you in ways that other things just never could. And those are things you should always try to keep in your life in some way. Ideally, it's the thing that you should do for your life's profession, but unfortunately we don't live in a society that supports that. So if you read actually the book Democracy and Moral Development that I mentioned earlier, you'll read more about this in a much more coherent way. So, and then the other piece of advice that I would give myself, well, if I could go back in time, or if I ever have a daughter, she's going to take auto tech in high school, which I know sounds super random. But one of the things that frustrates me so much is certain things that are, I guess, male-dominated, fixing cars being one of them. And it frustrates me to no end that I had every opportunity to learn more about things like that, and I just never did when I had the chance. Because, it just wasn't cool, or, wasn't what people were doing. I mean, I don't know how else to say it other than that, but I would have taken auto tech if I could go back to high school and do it again, because that's one skill that would not be bad to have. And also learn to code. I had the opportunity to take coding classes in high school, and I thought, why should I do that? So if I could go back and do it again, I would do that as well. So I don't know if that was advice, but that's what comes to mind. So my camera just died, and I'm not sure how different this shot looks from the last one, but if you notice, that's why. I had to take it down and charge it for a little while. So the next question comes from Velvet Trance. And she asks, do you celebrate Halloween, and do you dress up in a costume? And when I posted this, obviously, for the video where I asked you guys to submit the questions, it was getting ready, or I guess we were gearing up for Halloween at the time. So I'm going to answer her question and then just speak more broadly, I guess, to holidays in general. I do celebrate Halloween. I don't always go all out every year. Depends on what I'm doing. Typically what I have due around the time. It seems like I've been in school my whole life, so. But this year I didn't dress up, but I did celebrate. Some years I do dress up though, so. And then just generally for holidays, I do enjoy celebrating any, holiday that I can, because, I don't know, it's just nice to have an excuse to be joyful. I mean, there's so much tragedy in the world. So any opportunity I get to experience joy, I definitely try to take what I can, so. Okay, so our next question comes from, my dog is cooler than yours. And actually it is a question that has been asked many times now on my channel, and I know on this page in particular, or on the Q&A submission thread, Kells Bells also asked this question, or something very similar, as well as our awesome German friend who asked another question earlier. Amazing German is not on fire. And it all has to do with why I don't show my face on camera. And actually, at the time that my dog is cooler than yours asked this question, I decided to have a little discussion, or I wanted to go ahead and answer him a little bit, or her, I'm not sure. And so if you wanted to read the thread, which will probably be a much more coherent answer, then I always write better than I speak, I should say that. You can go ahead and read our thread, but the short answer as to why I don't show my face on camera is I don't want to. That's probably the short answer. The longer answer has to do with mostly privacy concerns. I have to get a job soon. The academic community in education especially is not a particularly, it's kind of, well, it's progressive in some ways, but then also it's still slightly, it can be conservative as well. So I just would feel more comfortable not showing myself on camera at this point in time until I get a more permanent position somewhere. Hopefully it won't be too long in the future. I'm not against showing myself on camera per se. I did use some photos just because I know so many people have asked about this. In the Firmu video. So if you want to see a couple pictures, then you can see them there. And if I decide to put my Instagram in the description box, then there are a few more photos there, although like I said, my other social media accounts were very short-lived, so I was not really that active. I mean, basically it's privacy. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And I know a lot of people don't like people that don't show their faces, and it's just one of those things that I'm gonna do what I think is best for me at this time, and it may not be forever. I guess it just depends on what position I end up getting, and I don't know. I guess I'll just have to see. So, and if you'd like a more in-depth response to this question, you can go to I think it's the Sleek makeup unboxing video that's like 2 or 3 videos before this, which also should say question and answer submissions. And you can see the original question, which has this massively long sort of response. So it'll be much more coherent than anything I can say now. So, okay, so our next question comes from Renard Blanche. I don't know if it's a French name or not. But the question is, can you tell us about your first ASMR experience? And like I said, I know that I experienced ASMR from a very young age. And one of the first, I guess, experiences that I can vividly remember the entire sort of, what triggered it and sort of came to a more cognizant awareness of it in a way as something different, was when I was probably about 5 or 6, something like this. And I had a friend who was a neighbor, and she and I used to go to each other's houses and play, with Barbie dolls or, whatever. And I can remember one day we were at her house, and her brother was waiting. She had 2 brothers, and they were both older than us by a good, I don't know, I would say he was probably about 10, I don't know, something like this. He seemed super old, like when I was a kid, like thinking about it. But he was probably like 9 or 10 or something like this. And I was over at her house, and we were playing with, like, we had set up this elaborate dollhouse in a way. Like, we didn't have, like, I think they had like pre-made like Barbie doll houses you could buy, but we didn't have that, so we would just like make like different rooms for ourselves, like in one of, like I think we were in her living room or something like that, and we'd made like, I think she had like a recliner, and like the little footstool would like go up, and you know, that would be like the second floor of the house or something like that. And you know, we would make little rooms and things out of stuff we would find around her house or my house, depending on which one we were at. But we were at her house that day, and her brother was there, and I think he was waiting for some friends like to come and get him. And so he was just watching us play with dolls, and I think he must have been, I don't know, kind of interested or fascinated by what we were doing. And so I remember him at one point getting off the couch and coming and sitting down as we were playing, and he took, I think it was, you know, one of the Ken dolls or something, and he started playing with us. And I just remember it was something that I would not have expected him to do, I think. Like I, you know, would never have thought, or I can remember thinking that I, you know, didn't expect that. And he was very, like, earnestly playing. It wasn't just, like, him making fun of us, but he was actually playing with us. And so I just remember, like, just getting this huge, you know, wave of ASMR. It's kind of hard to explain it, I guess, but just getting that, you know, blast that you can get. And when I get ASMR from the, like, organic experiences, it's very transfixing. Like it's not just in my head, it like travels down my spine and into my arms, and you feel like you don't want to move, I guess, because if you move it's gonna break the trance or something like this. I don't know, but I just remember sitting there transfixed. And that was probably one of the earliest memories that I have that was like, like a more, I don't want to say profound awareness of the experience, but a deeper awareness. It's pretty much the same thing, but anyway. Okay, our next question is from Bebe Beach Ball, and it is, I've been wondering what you are studying for your doctorate, and we talked about that. And then we have well, this isn't really a question, but well, it's sort of it is a question actually, but I don't know if it was, yeah, it's not quite about me, but it says that they're quite busy, so if I could please make my video shorter. And I actually answered this in the really long thing to My Dog is Cooler Than Yours, but basically there are a lot of ASMR artists who make videos that are, you know, 30 or 40 minutes and shorter, but making videos that are longer than an hour, and especially longer than an hour and a half, are not that common, or not as common. And so, because I have a lot of trouble falling asleep at night, I really appreciate artists that, you know, make longer videos, and I feel that that is something that is still needed in the ASMR community on YouTube. So that's one of the things that, you know, I like being able to give back. So that's one of the reasons why I don't do shorter videos. But I do want to do some more shorter videos as well, especially because my schedule right now is so, you know, crazy. So most likely you will be seeing some shorter ones, but I still want to do longer ones too. So I'm hoping to kind of do a mix. My utopian upload schedule, if I could have everything perfect and uploading regularly the way I wanted, it would be one long and one shorter a week. So it would be 2 videos a week, and the long one would be an hour and a half or so, and the shorter would be between, you know, 20 and 30 minutes. I don't know, because of the amount of talking that I like to do, I don't know if I could do a 15-minute video or less, but we'll see. I'm hoping to get out some, more 30-minute mark videos, because I know we are all very busy people. And that was a question from Silver Pen. Okay. And then we have some questions from Rumonger. And the first one is, what is your favorite piece of clothing that you own? And this is a tough one. I definitely spend less money on clothes than I do on accessories. And, well, bags, shoes, accessories, things like this. I remember, I think I was in either late high school or right after I graduated high school, there was, I think it was in Vogue, but it could have been Cosmo or some other fashion magazine, I don't know. But anyway, so in some fashion magazine, I remember reading that if you have a limited budget, that it's often wise to spend more on shoes and handbags, because you can, pick up a lesser quality, clothing piece, like from H&M or something like this, and, it might not be the highest quality, but if you have a really well-made bag and a great, well-made pair of shoes, it'll make your entire outfit more luxe. And I guess this was something I really took to heart, probably because I wanted to. But my favorite piece of clothing that I own, I love, along with Dior, I obviously love Dior most of all, but I love Marc Jacobs, his clothing, and probably my favorite piece of clothing is a bright, like, green. It's like that gorgeous, vibrant, like, I don't want to say emerald, because some emeralds are very kind of dark. It's like a really vibrant green color. I know, and I love blue, so it's odd, but it's a beautiful Marc Jacobs dress that I got in Chicago when I was living there. And I found it at a secondhand consignment store, and it was on sale. So I think I paid like $30 or something like this for it. And it's from his, he actually technically now has one line only, because he used to have Marc by Marc Jacobs and then Marc Jacobs. And Marc by Marc Jacobs was his juniors line, which is much more affordable, and the quality is not as high as his Bain Couture line, which is Marc Jacobs. Although he does have ready-to-wear also. And the dress was from his main line, Marc Jacobs, and it's just so pretty and flattering. I'll have to show it in a video one day, but I don't know that it would make very nice sounds. Like, the fabric is very smooth and slick, so I think I would just sort of glide silently along it or something. But that's one of my favorite pieces. And then I also have a Marc Jacobs, like little bolero, they're called bolero sweaters. It's another Chicago find. And it has like little strass or like crystals on it. I used to wear that a lot. I don't get to wear sweaters as much anymore, especially with how hot the winter has been this year. I've been very desolate about how hot it's been. We haven't really had much of a winter down south this year. So, but anyway, yeah, I would probably say that dress. The second question is your hair straight or curly? And it's kind of strange, because when I was born, I had curly hair, like ringlets, curly, like Shirley Temple kind of. But as I got a little older, it started to straighten. And then for some reason, when my mom waited to cut my hair because she said her hair was the exact same way, basically. When she cut it, finally, I think I was about 4 years old, and there are pictures of it actually, like, it went totally straight, like stick straight. And it was basically straight, like no curl or wave whatsoever, until I got into like high school. And then for some reason in high school it started getting wavier again, like wavy enough to the point that I could like get out of the shower with it wet and then put, hair products and scrunch with the, diffuser, and it would look, pretty curly. So, and then my hair was pretty, it had that kind of, wavy texture, or curly if I would actually try to scrunch it or something. And when I just let it dry naturally, it was kind of wavy until I was in Chicago at one point. And it was the strangest thing because I swear I got into the shower one night and my hair was the way it was. And then I took my shower and I can remember lying on the bed, talking on the phone, and I had my hair kind of like hanging off the side of the bed. Like, it didn't touch the floor, although it was pretty long, but it was just, hanging there. And I can remember just sort of running my hands through it. And when I sat up, I was on the phone for a while. Then when I sat up, it was mostly dry and it was pin straight again. Like, I don't know. And it was straight like that it was pin straight for probably a little while. And then, I don't know, it didn't get wavy, but it had movement. And it was like the best hair time of my life because like I could just wash my hair and then like let it dry naturally, and as it was drying I would just kind of run my hands through it a little to kind of shape it as it was drying, and it would dry perfectly. Like I had blow dried it, and it was flippy in the right ways, and had body in the right ways. And that lasted until I moved here where I am now. And I gotta say, the water down here is awful. Like, it is just unbelievably, like, the area that I'm in has had a very long history of oil production, and so it is just horrendous, and there's no other word. And my hair has been unhappy, so bad to the point where I had to actually install a shower filter. So I really recommend actually doing that if you live in any kind of area with unclean water, and so many of us do, unfortunately. So it's actually helped my skin and my hair a lot, installing that filter. And yeah, so my hair is confused, long story short. It's gone back to mostly curly now. Well, not curly like when I was younger, but like wavy-ish. So I don't know. I don't know I don't know. It's a confusing thing, basically. So, okay, the next question is, what part of the country do you live in? And we've talked about that. The next one is, do you sew or knit or do anything else crafty? And yes, I love craft projects or any kind of creative projects. So, like for example, I refinished all of my furniture before, and I used to paint, although I was never good at it. I used to draw as well, and I was better at drawing than painting. So I enjoy drawing and coloring, actually, when I have the time. I like making things. Like, my next project is I'm going to turn a wall mirror into a nail polish holder, which I'm thinking about actually trying to video for you guys, just because I think it'll be interesting. or horrible, depending. It'll either be really interesting and then, come out great, or it'll be one of those like Pinterest fail things. So, but I might try to record that somehow, just because if it turns out the way I envision it, then it'll be something I would wish to save for my own, for my own posterity, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. But I do sew. I have made my own clothes in the past, especially skirts. Skirts that I like are hard to find, so I'm not a very good seamstress, though. They usually look like, something that you made. Like, although some of them turned out pretty good. I'll give myself that. So basically, I love crafty things. I love making stuff. So, and then 5 is, what is your favorite book? And we talked about that. And what is your favorite TV show? Which we also talked about. And then we have Gentle Gamer, who asks that they want to actually hear about my thesis topic, which is very sweet of you to ask. So my thesis topic it revolves around a study that I did. It was actually 2 years ago now. I think I did the initial pilot study for it. And it has to do with using basically linguistic theories, mostly frame semantics, but I'm also using natural semantics metalanguage and some other things. When I'm also doing a corpus study, it's kind of convoluted at this point. But my general question is, what can linguistic theories bring to bear on educational research and our understanding in education of the perceptions and beliefs of teachers and administrators? And do the use of those theories bring to light anything that we might not have been able to see without them? So my bias going into it is that, well, this is more than just education, but language is in everything that we do, and it's hard to ignore linguistics in a way when trying to assess things, really so many different things, but most particularly understanding someone's perceptions. You really can't do that. You really can't do that without the use of language. So it's hard to say that you understand anyone's perceptions without really being able to sort of dig deeper linguistically, I guess. And in my study, I am basically interviewing teachers and administrators, and I'm having them sort of qualitatively tell me they basically give me their perceptions on specific key terms, and using frame semantics, I basically try to tease out patterns and see where some incongruencies might arise that cause difficulties in just the general operation of schools. So like areas where teachers and administrators might have differing perceptions that they don't realize that they have. And that causes issues with communication and efficiency and things like that. But I'm hoping to extend the study outside of just education because the study applies to any kind of hierarchical structure, like business or any kind of organization that has some kind of power hierarchy. So hopefully one day there'll be a book. And I'm hoping to aim it towards the business sector because it has a little bit more money than education. So, but that's sort of the long story short version. Okay, actually, I just went through all of the comment section again on the video from the sleek makeup unboxing / question submissions, and I think I got all of them. But if I somehow missed your question, please know that it was not intentional. I tried to answer every question that I got, and if I missed it, it was because for some reason it wasn't being displayed. I don't know if anyone else has been having this issue, but sometimes it seems like YouTube doesn't display all the comments in the comment section. I do get concerned about that, especially in situations like this, and just answering you guys in general. So, but if I missed you, please ask me again in the comment section of this video, and I'm more than happy to answer. And most likely the answer you'll get will be far more coherent than this video is. I'm not... like I said, I'm a much better writer than I am a speaker. So my brain goes in different directions, and then it's hard to keep up. I can only talk so quickly, so then I start going off in tangents and things like this. So, but anyway, so now I don't know how many of you are still left, so we'll see how this goes, but I have a little surprise. I'm sure you noticed I was playing with lots of things during this video, and initially this was supposed to be for my 1-year channel anniversary, but now that it's so late, we're gonna call it a 1-year channel anniversary 1.5-year channel anniversary, actually, I think almost now. And also a belated holiday gift, because I've been wanting to do a giveaway for a really long time, and I've been collecting things for quite a long time actually to give you guys, and I wish I could give every one of you something, but to sort of, I decided to do two, I'm gonna give 2 bundles away, I guess, and I'm gonna show you guys everything right now, and there are a couple things that I think I'm gonna have a first and a second place. I hate saying that, but because you're all equal here, but the first person whose name I draw out of the hat, I'll talk a little bit more about how I think I'm going to do it in just a second after I show everybody all of the things, but the first person will get first choice, because there are a couple things that are different slightly, but mostly the same. But all of the things that I'm going to give you guys are things that either I already use and love or have myself. Basically I wanted to share my favorite things with you guys, or some of my favorite things. And so I don't know if we're going to get all of this in shot here. And I don't think I even got a chance to play with everything, but I get easily distracted, like I said, so if I don't plan things out completely, then they end up with me rambling and not doing everything that I wanted to, typically. And a lot of these things are items that I've talked about in videos previously, or there are things that I was supposed to have talked about in videos before this giveaway, but because I'm so behind on all of my videos that I planned, you're kind of getting some things before you get the video where I actually show you the thing. But hopefully you guys don't mind. And we're going to be getting some overlap here. And of course, it just would not have been complete without this. I almost actually included the liquid lipsticks instead of the actual lipsticks, but because I did the big video on all the Milani lipsticks, and I know a lot of people don't like liquid lipsticks, so we went with the traditional ones. And then these are actually something that I probably will never have. I just found these. And they were so cute and happy that I just had to get them. I've never tried these before, so these might totally suck, but it's a bar of soap. It smells nice, so. But with the little picture of the star, I do love stars, so I think I've said that before, but these were so happy and cute. I just had to get them for you guys. And then, I'll show the last thing I'll show last. So these are obviously the shade and light it's like a compact palette, and these are discontinued now actually, but I have several of these and I've really liked using them a lot. I tried to get shades that I thought hopefully would be complementary to a majority of people. I mean there's never a majority of people. That's really not possible, but I tried to get something that I thought a lot of people might like. So it's the shade Mickey and Mallory. And I know there are a lot of videos on these on YouTube, and the opinions are kind of mixed, but I personally have liked them. So, and this is of course not focusing. There's too much stuff down here. Anyway, but you can look it up online. It's Mickey and Mallory, and it's basically a shade color and a lighter color, and it's like a blush. At least that's what I use it for. So, and each box should come with like a little info pamphlet that should help you, with some tricks to how to use it. So, and both of these are the same. So this is one of the ones that both winners will get the same thing. And then these are actually different. These are the Wet n Wild highlighting powder, and these are amazing. I actually should have brought because I actually do own Mickey and Mallory, but I'm at my parents' filming this right now, and I remembered to bring the Wet n Wild that are mine. Obviously you'll get two that are new and have not been opened before, but I forgot to bring my Mickey and Mallory to swatch for you guys, so yeah, look that up. But these two are actually mine when these came out, I bought a bunch of them because they are so amazing, and I really like them. These are two that I just recently opened, so they look pretty new. Still, I really haven't used these much yet, but I wanted to swatch them for you guys. This is in the color Precious Petals, and this is a little bit, this is the lighter one, and it is in the color Precious Petals. It's sort of a peachy, sort of more nude color, I guess. And you can see it has the pretty imprint. But when these initially came out, I've actually had these to... The camera is yet again at a terrible angle for this. But, and actually the lighting in here is not... It's not great for makeup swatching. Originally I started filming this earlier during the day, and the lighting was much better then. But when these originally came out, they were limited edition, and they sold out like instantly. The website for Wet n Wild crashed, and I was tenaciously trying to get a hold of them, and I did end up getting several of them. And I saved, 2 for you guys. So here's the Precious Petals. I think now they actually are available again on their website. They kind of lied to us. They ended up not being as limited edition as they initially said. But I guess that's great for anyone that hasn't been able to get them, because I know they sold out initially super quick. Oh, and then this is the sort of more golden color, a little bit darker, and it's called Crown of My Canopy. I wanted to show you the newer ones. My other ones that I had been using a lot looked kind of busted at this point, so you guys can see what they look like when they're pretty much new. And like I said, that yours will not be opened, so you can see it's slightly darker, a little bit more golden. I didn't quite put as much on for this swatch. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have the first person chosen will get first pick. So, and these are still available, so if anyone's still interested, they're quite affordable and they're really awesome highlighters. So I've really enjoyed using them. And I was going to share them in a video with you. I probably still will. But you're getting a sneak peek, I guess. And then I have the Maybelline Baby Lips, which I do love. I talked about these in my makeup, what's in my makeup, travel makeup bag. I think I had one with me, and I talked about how I try to I have a Baby Lips next to my bed, and I try to put it on every night before I go to sleep. And I think these are really great lip balms. So, and I got these both the same, and so there won't be any need to choose. and this is 150, and it's the color Mirrored Mauve. And these actually might not be the best for sleeping in because they have little like glittery micas, like they're slightly glittery. And when I was debating on which one to get, and I don't know, these look super cute, so I thought I would get these. And I've never not loved the baby lips that I've purchased, so hopefully these will be the same because I haven't tried this one yet. But I love baby lips in general, so. And then I know I talked a lot about the CoverGirl nail polishes and how much I really like them. I have a lot of them now, and I got 2 of the same colors. They've been sitting in a box for a while, so they probably need to be shaken a little. But the color is number 500, and it's called Pink Lady. And I thought it was just a pretty color that would be pretty wearable for most people. It wasn't too, wild, but then it's not a completely nude color. I think it's a fun color, I guess. And I love these CoverGirl nail polishes are awesome. So and these are both the same. And I know I talked about them in my Star Wars video, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about them since then too. And then these are 2 buxom brushes, and I wish these are something that I didn't bring with me either. Unfortunately, when I showed these originally to you guys, I brought a lot of my main makeup brushes from home because I was gone for 4 months during the summer. So, but I don't normally travel with them. I have a travel brush set from the MAC that if I'm only going to be someplace for a few weeks. And this is something else I forgot to bring, but if you look in the makeup storage and organization video where I put all of my makeup in the big acrylic container thing, I don't know what you call it, but the second part of that video I reorganize my brushes and I show you guys the buxom brushes. They're you can see here on the side, it's well, they call it an eyeshadow brush, and it can be used to pack on eyeshadow, but it's quite large, so I kind of use it more for concealer, but I do use it around the eye area as well. But it's not my main eye brush, but it's a brush that I really like, and I feel like you can use it for a lot of different things. And so I got you guys one of these, and they're both the same. So if you want more info about this, go and you can watch my previous video about them. So and then of course, like I said, we had to do the Milani, and I almost got the same ones, but then I don't know, at the last minute I decided to go ahead and get 2 different ones. So one is matte, and it's 72 Matte Kiss, and the other is their regular original lipstick formula, and this is my favorite red from them. It is called Red Label, and it's number 5, and these are actually mine. I have your lipsticks have not been used, although I want to tell you guys that in the States these do not come sealed, which is super weird in my opinion, and something I've never understood, why they don't put plastic wrap around them. But at all of the places where I've been, in the South at least, since these have been launched, none of them have ever been packaged. But I did briefly check each one to make sure that they were unused. So, you guys are going to be getting new unused lipsticks. But I wanted to test these for you so that, you guys could see the difference in consistency and color. And this is number 5, red label. And this is the original formula. I think I got most of the highlighter off there, but it's a very creamy formula. I really love this color, and I get a lot of compliments when I wear it. People tend to like this color a lot. And then I got, this is a very, very similar color, and I know mattes are so popular right now, so I had to get something matte. But I know not everyone likes matte, so that's why I got one that wasn't. So you can see there, don't want to drop this. And this is the Matte Kiss. And they're super, super similar. I mean, I think this one is slightly... I think this one might be slightly more orange and this slightly pinker. But honestly, on camera, I don't know if you can tell that. It looks really similar to me in my little jerry-rigged monitor, so... I don't know, actually, looking at the monitor, this looks more orange. Maybe that's what I just said. I don't know. It's really late. I don't know what I'm even saying anymore. So, yeah. But, so this is, they're very similar, really, in consistency, too. They're both very creamy, really. It's just that this one has a slight sheen to it. Which I don't know if you can even see. Kind of. Anyway. I think you guys get the picture. So, yes. So, first person chosen will get first pick of the lipsticks. But they're both beautiful, so I don't think it could go wrong. Okay, so then we have 2 pairs of earrings. These are from Rebecca Minkoff, and these are from Marc Jacobs. And I actually own both of these pairs of earrings, and I love them both. I wear a lot of accessories from both Rebecca Minkoff and Marc Jacobs often. If you don't have a Nordstrom's rack, you should definitely check it out online. You can get great deals on, designer accessories there, like these. So, but I wear these a lot, and I have a jewelry role play that is going to be coming, hopefully very soon, where you'll get to see more of these. But these are 2 that I like to wear a lot, so I thought I would share them with you guys too. These are gold. Little focus. Little hearts. And there's like a green circle in the middle. They're very shiny, and they look cute when you're wearing them. And then these by Rebecca Minkoff are they're slightly edgier. They're not really, they can be worn, I think, in a dressier occasion because they do have, if it would focus, they do have little crystals here at the bottom. But I typically wear these more casually. And they're just kind of fun, slightly edgy looking. Earrings. Stud. They're not really studs because they do slightly hang below the ear, but not too much. So you have these. And then I know I talked about the vintage company. And I love their things. I have so many different products from this company and I really love it. I have actually not tried the lashes yet. I saw these and I really wanted to include something from this company in the giveaway. So I decided you guys can try them and tell me what you think. So there is Kitty and Connie. And Kitty is slightly more dramatic than Connie. So it just depends on what you'd like. This is Connie. A little bit more natural. Although they both look like they would look. I would wear either of these depending on, what I would be going to or doing. So there's that. And then I'm going to show the cute little stars again just because they make me happy. So cute. And these are from a verbena soap. And it's triple milled vegetable based soap. Oh no, actually, it's by Molly and Rex. I'm sorry. The name of the soap is a verbena soap. Who can't smile when they see that? I don't know. And finally, we have this mug. And I like mugs for everything from drinking beverages to putting like lip glosses or eye pencils and things like that in sometimes. And this mug I actually made for you guys, and there are two of them, and they both look the same, well, mostly, since they are handmade. They're obviously not going to be exactly the same, but they say the same thing and it has the same design. So, and on it says sleep and wake to dreams. And that's just a little saying that I kind of thought up, that I thought exemplified my channel and what I wanted to sort of be able to convey in a way with my channel. And what I mean by the saying is that sleep is something that I find very important. Well, it is very important biologically and just for our general well-being. And I know that not everyone watches ASMR for sleep, but I guess by sleep I sort of mean just the general, sort of the encapsulation of everything that has to do with, the well-being that comes from being relaxed and at peace and well-rested. So when you can, when you're able to relax and sleep well, you can then wake up and sort of seize the day in a way, or, wake up and then be able to be your best self so that you can achieve, your dreams and the things that you would like to do in life. So that's why it says sleep and then wake to dreams, because without rest and well-being, you aren't really able to function fully as a human being, I think. So I thought that sort of just a little memento, and I like making things for people, so. And I got this is a Sharpie, I've never done this before, so I got this off of Pinterest, and I'm hoping that it isn't going to be a Pinterest fail kind of thing. I don't know if you should wash it, I'm going to be honest, because it's already kind of making me nervous that it might come off. So I'm going to try and bake it and see how it goes. I haven't baked them yet, but they might not be entirely washable, which I do apologize for. I swear I followed the directions on Pinterest. But I guess we'll see. So, and it's just, it's just this little something. So, anyway, that is the giveaway. Those are the giveaway items. And I guess I should get into the details of how to enter and everything. What I would like to do is to do a drawing with you guys. I wish we could do a live drawing, but I don't think I'm going to probably be able to do that with my schedule. I'm going to be going back to school in about a week, so but I'm going to do kind of, I think, Emma Whispers Red, I remember, did a giveaway in this way where she just sat and wrote the names on pieces of paper and put them in a bowl and then drew the names out of the bowl while she was filming, and that's what I would like to do as well. So to enter, what I would like you to do is to, in the comment section below, first tell me that you want to enter, because some people might not be interested in entering, and then you have to basically tell me something about yourself, because you just watched this ridiculously long thing about me, and I want to be able to get to know you guys better. And so it can be something, I know not everybody wants to really reveal a lot about themselves, so it can be something super simple, like, my favorite color is red, or it can be something really, involved, like, your first childhood memory or something. So you can tell us as much or as little as you like, I guess. And so I will take the names of everyone who enters, and then we will have a drawing. As I said, I really wish that I could, give every one of you something. But unfortunately, I am not wealthy enough to do that yet. Maybe, hopefully one day. But there'll be more, I'm sure, giveaways in the future. So don't despair if you don't win this one. There will be more in the future. I love giving gifts, like I said. So, and I would like it to be open worldwide. So anyone, anywhere can enter. Originally, I really wanted to put in some perfume, because obviously one of my big loves is fragrances. But I know that there's some international restrictions on perfume, so I was concerned about shipping it. But if the winners are from the US, then you might get a little sample perfume as well. So, and I know, like, I'm not really advertising this giveaway, and I know a lot of people do advertise their giveaways, like, in their video title and things like that, and I decided that I really didn't want to do that because I wanted it to be a giveaway for you guys. You know, all of my viewers are so meaningful to me, and I didn't want it to be something, you know, to try to get more subscribers. But if people, I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to hide it either, so if people don't, you know, end up liking the way I do this, then perhaps in the future I'll do it differently. So we'll just see how this goes. But I really wanted to use this as an opportunity for not only you guys to get to know me, but for us all to get to know each other in a way, because I know that, you know, we often see people around the ASMR community and we don't really get that much of an opportunity to get to know each other outside of the content creator themselves. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that I'm really interested in is the development of more interconnectedness between people. And I think one of the great ways that we could start doing that is not just knowing me, but you guys knowing each other as well, and me knowing you guys better. So that's why I would like you guys to tell me and everyone else something about yourselves. So, and I'll have a lot of fun reading your stories or your little tidbits of information. So, and I hope that you guys all had wonderful holidays. I know I've missed multiple holidays for everyone, so I hope that you all had a wonderful, wonderful holiday. And I'm so glad that I'm finally making this video. I will sleep much better tonight. But anyway, it's finally getting to you guys, and yet again I must say I apologize for my long absence, and I hope you can forgive me for that. And I really appreciate everyone's patience so much. Oh, and I guess I should say I'm most likely going to be leaving the giveaway contest open until the last weekend of January. I should be able to make the video for the drawing by then. So I'm determined to have things more organized next semester. So I'm hoping it'll be much more regular upload schedule. And I do actually have some Sephora Play things coming soon. I know we are way behind, so I'm going to use that as an opportunity to make some shorter videos as well. And all of the contest information will be in the description box somewhere, buried in all of the ramblings that I usually leave you guys. So, and I think that's it. I'm sure I'm missing something, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it wasn't really that relaxing. I was laughing and talking loudly at certain points, I know, so, but hopefully you guys got to know me a little better. And like I said, if I missed anyone's questions, please know it was not intentional, and please go ahead and ask me in the comment section as well, and I'll get that answer to you. And now that this is probably 12 hours of video footage, I'm going to let you guys go. And you all have a wonderful night or day, wherever you are. And I wish you all beautiful dreams.